Okay, we are live. Yay. Welcome to Eight Questions with. I'm your host, Patrick from Have Cheeto Will View. And tonight we will be talking to actor Mike Markoff. Definitely one of my favorite people in the world. Super nice guy, down to earth. Um, he's one of what I call the trilogy, with Mike Ferguson and Josh Hahn and himself being in the trilogy. Um, they all starred in a series called Death Squad. And that's how I met them all through that TV series. Um, there's also a fourth off there, and that is writer Michael Cassie, who also wrote Death Squad, and we interviewed him earlier. Yeah, so the fingers, the Kevin Bacon, the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon is much strong here. Uh, so Mike will be here in about 15 minutes or so. And hi, Katie, how are you? Thank you for showing up. Appreciate that. Um, we are very happy to have him. Um, it'll be a lot of fun. We're going to be talking to him about a variety of things: his career, his outlook on life, what motivates him, uh, you know, um, his love of coffee. That's one thing we have in common: coffee. Where he wants to go in the future, all that good stuff. Um, so we will be. Oh, good, good. I'm glad you're feeling good. Yeah, I hope that I hope we didn't overrun you guys yesterday. Hi, Rebecca. All right, look who's here. It's our favorite publicist, Rebecca. Rebecca Mahan is here. That's right. That's right. Um, thank you for coming, Rebecca. Mike Markoff is a really talented actor and a great human being. I'm really excited to have him on the show. It'll be a lot of fun. Um, Of course, I expect the ladies to show up for that because let's face it, the man's gorgeous. All right. That's right. I said it. But it's true. So just be honest with yourselves. Get over it. Um, but he is gorgeous. He's handsome. He's like I said, he's very caring. He's a deep thinker. He's gonna be he's a really good guy. And I can't wait for the show to start so we can ask him some good questions here. Uh, How are you feeling, Rebecca? Hopefully you're feeling well. And oh oh my gosh, I don't know what happened to us yesterday, Katie. We just went nuts. We went nuts. But I'm blaming Hobbs for it. Um, yeah, we had a lot of fun yesterday. Um, so while we wait for Mike, I will go ahead and everybody knows what's coming. So we got to talk about the calendar. There we show. Talk about the calendar. So yeah, there's been a couple of changes in the calendar since last night when we talked to Rebecca. Talked to Ruth Hill. See, there I got Rebecca and Ruth. They're both publicists, is why I got them confused. Um, but we do get a couple of changes here, and well, tomorrow night we have Cammie Storm will be here with us. She'll be here talking about her career and moving behind the camera, becoming a film director. She's also done some acting and some modeling, so we'll talk about that. Uh, on the 19th, we had to cancel Chloe. Unfortunately, she has unexpected filming, and that is the nature of the beast. That happens, so there's nothing we could do about that. But we will be trying to reschedule Chloe Triascos soon. All right. Next on the 23rd, next Tuesday, we have Josh Maybe of Rogue Origin will be here. Rogue Origin will be amazing to talk to. Josh Maybe and his group of crazy, fanatical, talented stuntmen actors, um, putting together some instant classic short films that are action based. Amazing stuff, really. On the 24th, a week from tonight, we'll be here with Brian John of Hunterphobia. He's a paranormal expert. He hunts ghosts, and he's a serious ghost hunter. He's not one of those ones you see on TV that are faker than fake. We'll be joined by special co-host Kevin Kay for Tuber Chat. He'll be here as well to co-host the show with us. Looking forward to that very much. And then, since I know everybody will be very, very busy on Thanksgiving Day, except for me, we invited Canadian author and writer Jennifer Sullivan to hang out with us on the 25th. So that'll be at 8 p.m. as well. On the 28th, two shows I should mention to you guys. One, we will be on my channel here for our look at the IFC movie, The Cold July. I'll be joined by Ben from Cadaver Club and the Night Watch Zone, Night and Coriander, and maybe, rumor has it, maybe Jerry might make an appearance for that. So that'll be on the 28th. That'll be 8 o'clock here. And then at 10 o'clock, we will be doing A24 night. We'll be talking all things A24, all the films that they've released, which ones we liked, which ones we didn't like so much, and what makes A24 so popular. So that's on the 28th of November. And then on the 30th of November, we have Marshall Schartzer III, also known as Mellow Nomadic Adventures. He'll be here at 8 o'clock, and he'll be talking about all sorts of things. He not only is he a van lifer, but he also works in movies. He goes around the country in his van, and he goes to different locations, and he builds sets. He's an interesting character, and one of the nicest guys you'll ever want to meet. On December 1st, we kick off December 1st with actor Alex Javo. That's the other change we've had. We had Stephen Foster scheduled, but circumstances arose, so Alex Javo has come in, and he's starring in the miniseries called the Malcolm series, is what I'm calling it, because there's like 3 or 4 of them. And I reviewed the first one called Changing Malcolm. So I reviewed that. So we'll talk about Alex Javo, about his career. And then on the 2nd of December, we welcome my very good friend, Gordy Carbone. He'll come in, and Gordy, yeah, Gordy is amazing. Gordy is a musician. He has a band called The Forgotten, and he also has played with Lars Fredriksson and the Unknown Bastards. So you guys might have heard of either one of those 2 bands, but that's who Gordy is. And he's got a secret talent that we'll be talking about as well. So that's the first week in December. So we got a lot more other things coming up too. Yeah, I really had a lot of fun yesterday talking to Ruth Hill. That was a really good interview. I really liked it. I thought, like I said, it's a hard road to be a publicist. Rebecca can tell you that. Rebecca is also a publicist, and it's a hard road. It's not easy. It takes dedication and professionalism, and not everybody is cut out for it. Even if they've worked it for many, many years, sometimes your skills erode, and you're not very effective anymore. It happens. You have to be on the ball all day long, and it's hard. It's actually warmer here today, here in southeastern Michigan. But yesterday I was freezing my butt off. But today it's like 60 degrees outside. So pretty nice. Pretty nice. I will go ahead, and Mikey has a YouTube page, but we're gonna have to discuss that because I want to share it out, but I think I'm gonna need to let him cover up a couple of things. He's got some videos out on his channel. I don't think he realizes that are public, and I think he wants to cover them up. So we're going to give him a chance to do that. We'll give him a chance to do that, and then I'm going to unleash you guys to go over there and follow him, help him out a little bit. Let's see, what else do we got? I got a couple minutes here. I guess I'll do another week. How about that? I don't know why I'm so tongue twisted. Um, all right, so December 7th, we welcome in actress Sherry Davis will be here. Um, she also was in the film Amityville Moon and a ton of others. In fact, she's filming a movie right now called Bermuda Triangle, and she's down in Puerto Rico filming that, and she'll be here talking about her experiences. That's on the 7th of December, and then on the 8th, December 8th, we have writer Bobby Lapierre from Film Threat Magazine. He'll be coming in to talk to us on the 8th. These are all 8 o'clock starts, by the way, 8 o'clock starts. And then on the 9th of December, we have Calvin, a gentleman named Calvin, who's also known as Black Noah. He is a animal rescuer in Alabama, Bessemer, Alabama. Very popular Instagram figure. He is a one-man rescue machine. If you love animals and you like heroes, then you want to tune in for that because Calvin is a hero. He has saved since I follow him, been following him. I easily the man probably saved at least 1,000. It seems like it to me. He saved at least 1,000. Cats, dogs, you name it, he's done it. And so he'll be here talking about his rescue and his. He's trying to build an animal sanctuary, an ark as he calls it, and we'll talk about that. And then on the 14th, we have Mick Gray will be here. Mick Gray is a strong comic book artist. He's drawn for both Marvel and DC. He'll be here talking about his career. And then on the 15th, we are double heading it again. We are double heading. We are doing a double header. We're heading across the pond to interview Darren James King, and then coming back to interview Alexis Icono at 8 p.m. So that's it. That's all I got. I don't think you guys all want to hear the rest of the calendar. I see that we have 5 in the chat, or 6. Thank you so much for coming on early. I appreciate that so much. If you like what you see, consider giving the channel a sub. That would really help me out. Me and the Cheetah, we are driving for 500. We'd appreciate any subs that you can give us. That would be awesome. Please hit the bell. If you hit the notification bell, you'll be notified whenever we go on do lives and do interviews, which we do 3 days a week. We're here Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, unless something happens, and then we're not. But we're here live Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays with 8 questions with. And then leave a comment down below. It's great that you're in the chat. We love that you're in the chat. We'd love even more if you come by after the chat and drop us a comment. That would be rocking. It really does help the channel quite a bit. Hey, Hobbs. Okay, we say our leader from the midnight hour is here, Hobbs Horror. As you can see, he's got his calling card, which is a donut and a pumpkin. See, pine cones are cool. Yes, pine cones are very cool. I'm with you. All right, thank you. All right, thanks, Justin. Stop by after the show's over and catch the replay. Okay, you know what? I froze, so let me back out and come back in because that might be Mikey trying to go back in too. Hold on. All right. Okay. It's so weird how YouTube. Yep, there's Mikey right on time. Hold on. Here we go. Ta-da. Hi, Mike.
How's it going, Patrick?
Good, good. It always seems to happen every time that we go up. The very first like within the first 5 to 10 minutes, we always have a glitch. So like like I'll freeze or the stream will freeze. So I have to back out. And if that happens to you, if you get frozen, all you do is you just back out and come back in. But it happens like the first 5 minutes of every interview. And so it's like, okay, so it's normal. It's live TV, so to speak. Welcome to 8 Questions with, sir.
Thank you. Happy to be here, Pat.
Yeah, I'm glad you're here too, man. Really. This has been a long time coming for me. While you and I have known each other for years now, it's been like 2 years, I think, over 2 years, maybe.
Yeah. Since we did that initial Q&A.
Yeah, because Mike Ferguson. I met him before he left to do Death Squad. So then after he came back, he was telling me all about you guys. And then so that's been like almost 3 years now. So I met you probably about 2.5. I've known you about 2.5 years, I think.
Yeah, that's right. That sounds right.
Yeah, that was crazy. So the chat is here. I don't know if you can see the chat, but they're here. They're saying hello. Yeah, it's been a weird trip, isn't it? This is not. I mean, you did a written interview with me. We did our first interview on the blog, and this is our first time doing a face to face. And like I said, I'm really glad to have you. And how was your day today?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. We've been furnishing an apartment, so we just got our table in right behind me there, getting all that set up. And
Where exactly? Okay. This is what I was waiting for. I was waiting for some people to show up. Miss looks like a Schlossberg. He's here. He or she is here. Saying that one of his favorite actors. I agree. He is. Yep. This guy is so talented. I agree with that. So where did you guys move to? I mean, where are you setting up your base at now?
we're up still in Los Angeles. We moved from West Hollywood up to kind of up near the top of Beechwood, sort of literally just under the Hollywood sign.
Nice.
And Casey Schlossberg is the love of my life and my girlfriend. So
okay.
He's obligated to say things like what she just said.
Well, you don't know there is that thing called truth in advertising. So I'm sure that Casey's saying the exact truth. I happen to agree with Casey. Casey's right. So that's what we're going with. Hi, Liz. How are you? Liz Ball is saying hi. Yep.
She's also obligated.
Hey, you know what? You got to take the support anywhere you can get it.
I know. I need all the help I can get over here.
Jeez, you and me both, brother. You and me both. I got my crew in here too, and I'm very grateful that they're in every time they do come in. So how you like setting up an apartment? I mean, is it? Do you find yourself? Isn't it true though that setting up is a lot harder than it is packing?
Yeah, no, for sure. I was like so excited because we get to do a whole thing from scratch, but then it's just we've been experiencing a fair amount of decision fatigue, which I haven't ever experienced anything like that before. I guess all the other decisions in my life have been easier rather than the color of which armchair to choose for some reason.
I see you got the coffee.
I do. It's my emotional support coffee.
Oh my God! You know what? You can put an IV in my ass with one of these. I'd be happy the rest of the day. So let's bounce back. I want to go back to the beginning because to get this interview going, and that is, I mean, we got to start from the beginning, right? I mean, where were you born and raised at?
I was born and raised in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
Just the suburbs outside of Chicago.
How was that? I mean, how old were you? And did you grow up all the way up there, or did you move around a little bit, or?
Yeah, I was there up until about 18 or 19 or so. And yeah, it was amazing to grow up there, especially if you're trying to be an actor or if you have, dreams of pursuing it. It's a really good place to start because there's just thousands of literally almost thousands of black box theaters and, you know, such extraordinary prowess for stage acting there. And from improv houses, of course, Second City, Improv Olympic, just to name a few. And you have the Chicago Shakespeare Theater, you've got the Goodman Theater, and of course you have Steppenwolf. And I was really lucky where at my school, one of my professors in high school was it was a playwright for Steppenwolf. So we used to work with his material, and we would take trips down to Steppenwolf. I never saw like John Malkovich or Gary Sinise or anything like that, but you're kind of like born into this very very gritty kind of acting atmosphere where they're very, you know, they're very, very intense about doing very rugged, emotional, stressful work over there. So I learned very, very young to go hard and go fast. And I don't know, maybe, you know, maybe that's a reason why sometimes I find myself in some of these roles of, you know, doing more crazy kind of stuff, perhaps because I started probably doing it way too young.
I mean, Chicago, you know, you mentioned the improvs. I mean, if you really think about it, like New York is like the king of Broadway, you know, king of plays. Los Angeles is like king of Hollywood, the motion pictures. Chicago really is the king of improv. I mean,
Sure.
you hear more. I mean, every time you hear someone mention improv, more or less they're going to be have ties to Chicago. And the Black Box Theater, that was just basically their version of off Broadway, right?
Yeah, I mean, more or less. I mean, there's just so much talent there. It's such a big journalism community, such a big playwriting community in general. There was just so much up and coming theater where I think there's this culture developed where you test out your play in Chicago to see how it's going to do on Broadway. And it was a very, very typical route for a very, very long time. And there's just so many theaters that kind of workshop and cultivate artists and playwrights, actors, directors, stage managers, all these things that sort of groom them for more main stage things in Broadway. So much so that they actually started a series in Chicago called Broadway in Chicago. And these were Broadway caliber shows for all intents and purposes, not in Chicago. And I mean everything from the Chicago Shakespeare Theater, where I mean the Royal Shakespeare Academy started it there, you know, and just it's a place where all your resources are there for you if it's something that you really want to pursue. It's so funny when you lean forward, the tiger on top of your hat just like fills the frame. It's very funny. It's like,
oh yeah,
I'm tiger.
No, what I got was there's a Hey Ho Studios mentioned. Do they do improv every Tuesday night though?
Oh, so that's actually Hey Ho Studios. That's Tremaine. Hey Tremaine. Tremaine is a director, writer-director that I just did a feature with back in August up in Northern California, and we had a joke because, you know, between shots and everything, you know, we would just get to talking, and he just always talks about, yeah, you know, I try to have hobbies, and one of them, you know, every Tuesday night I've got my improv class, and I keep going, but he keeps telling me about it, and he reminds me that it's 7:00 on Tuesday. So there's a little bit of an inside joke there. Tremaine's a great guy. It's good to see you, buddy. We wrapped a few months ago. It's a feature called Simp. It's gonna be very, very, very excited for this one. This is a very, very cool character, very, very interesting story.
With you back in Chicago, I mean, how about this? I know you've done a few plays, right? You've done some stage work, and the fact that you worked for a lot of playwrights up there. I mean, is theater a great love of yours? I mean, do you love doing theater as much as you do film?
Yeah, I also like making money. So
right. Yeah.
Well, it just means I want to do. It's not that I like making money. I want to make money for the things that I do. It's a little bit harder to make an income with theater, and it was really great for me starting out, and it's been so long since I've done it that now the prospect of doing something 2 or 3 hours straight through without someone calling cut seems a little bit daunting. So I mean, theater's extraordinary. But I'm not going to be like one of those actors in an interview, be like, yes, well, you know, I really do prefer doing the theater. You know, when I have time, I'll give back and do theater. No, I mean, it would just be incredible to to do live theater. That, you know, everybody always says the same thing, that the adrenaline that you feel when it's right there with you in the audience, that is true performance. You know, on a film set, sometimes you're acting in little 3-second blips. It's just a different, it's also a different skill set, because your imagination has to put you right in the middle of the place where they're deciding to start. Whereas in theater, and actually what I love about long scenes in film, I love doing long scenes, because after a couple seconds, you're in it, and you are just in it. Sometimes when you're doing short scenes, or if you're doing like little blips on film, you have to do a lot of work to kind of like drive you into the scene, so you can be like right there in that moment. There's something cool about theater and something really cool about long scenes, where it's like you have no choice but to be in it. Like, so I've done films before where there's been scenes that have been literally like 9 pages, and there's no time once you kind of get going, and you don't ever get out of it. You're just forced to be in it. You know?
It's easy. It's actually easier to do long takes than it would be short takes then, because short take. Okay, we want you to come around the corner and say hi, Joe, and so you don't really have. It's hard to do that over and over because it's so short. It's hard to muster up the energy for every take, right?
Yeah. No, I actually I find it very hard to do tiny scenes. Yeah, just like that, for that exact reason, for sure.
Now, you obviously, when you grew up, I mean, when did you start deciding that you wanted to do this for, when did you get the bug? How old were you?
Yeah, I think it was
In
about
high school?
maybe like 11 or 12.
All right. What did you do first? School plays or?
1 second, I'm just putting my phone on do not disturb. Sorry,
Oh,
should have
yep,
done that before. Can you see me? Okay,
yep.
here I am. What did you ask?
When did you start? I mean, where did you start at your, did you start on the
Oh,
stage in
right. Yeah,
school?
yeah. I started on stage. Doing musicals with my temple. I was at a Reformed Jewish synagogue called Temple Chai that would put on musicals once a year. So I think I did my first one when I was like 7, and I did that for a few years, and then and then just started. And then actually in junior high, I was in Fiddler on the Roof like twice. The thing is, I can't really sing, but there's not like many straight plays going on in community theaters for like 10-year-olds. So musicals are what they did, and I knew I wanted to perform, so I did. I was just complete shit at singing. And when I in high school, when I auditioned for the musical and didn't get cast, I'm like, okay, I guess maybe singing is not going to be a thing for me. So yeah, it kind of started there. I got cast in this theater troupe when I was 14 years old, called Reality Theater, which was this teenage theater group that toured around to different high schools and junior highs and performed plays about teen issues like teen pregnancy and drinking and drugs and stuff like that. I don't know if I don't think I had a sound moral compass at that time. I think I just sort of wanted to perform.
Right.
And that's when I really caught it. And then, yeah, once high school theater started, it was a very, this high school I went to, Stevenson, it was just it's a very intense theater atmosphere there. They that money put a lot of school into their theater program. Something like 20 different elective classes for theater, from like directing classes, improv, musical theater, Shakespeare, all of these different things. And so it's actually kind of easy. It was easy at my high school to catch the bug. And because when they put on plays, it was a very extravagant experience. And I think a lot of actors you talk to, they talk about their high school theater sort of being like mentally the thing that you hold on to for the rest of your life, because it's so competitive. There's so much politics. It's your whole world. And so I got driven right around the age of 14, 15, and then started, I think I was like browsing online for auditions. I'm gonna go find something to audition for, and it was, lo and behold, for this horror film called The Rockville Slayer. So me and my buddy Mike Kessler, who was I was in high school with, we just went to the audition, and I didn't know anything about movies or anything, and we both auditioned together. Lo and behold, we walked in, and we were kind of like exactly what they needed for this audition in like Bolingbrook, Illinois, or wherever the hell it was, and we got cast in it. And all of a sudden, thrown into this horror community that I had no idea about. You had Robert Zadar from Maniac Cop in the movie, Linnea Quigley from Return of the Living Dead. yeah, Joe Estevez, who was Martin Sheen's brother, star of it was like Soul Taker and all these other cool things. Of course, I had no idea that there was all these like cult horror icons in there until we started promoting the film at different Fangoria festivals and things like that. Then I was sort of off to the races.
Yeah. How did your parents feel when you told them you want to become a performer? Were they really supportive of you for that?
Yeah. I wish I had some like story of like me facing adversity about having very straight-laced parents that wanted me to be a doctor, and I didn't. They're both wonderful. My mom was an artist and an energy healer and very creative, and my dad was always very, very supportive as well. So they would start driving me, take me out of school to drive me to auditions and things like that. And then at one point, they just they just knew that like I was just gonna go for what I was gonna go for, and they always supported it, and yeah, everything that I did with that.
So, I mean, when did you decide to move? Did you move out here to California straight from Illinois, or did you go
I did. So I was in I eventually found myself in this new method acting school in Chicago called Act One Studios. And yeah, I was there for about a year, and that was just like 8 hours a day of like very like, I'm just going to use a bad word here, like self-masturbatory acting. It was just very like, oh man, everybody was just in these, it was just like acting training, like on steroids. It's just acting. And that was like your whole life. I did that for a year. They didn't like me. I didn't like them. I left. I went to Los Angeles after that. And yeah. And then, and I was working out there for a little bit, and yeah, and I hit a wall at about the age of 21. And I quit. I quit the whole thing. All I had ever known was acting, from being in the little high school, or excuse me, the temple musicals, to reality theater, to high school theater, to low budget horror films, and to acting training and acting workshops and all these kind of acting troupes and things like that. And here I am out in LA. I'm 21 years old, and I'm not a human being. I'm just this little kid who wanted to be an actor and nothing else. And I woke up one day being like, I'm not fucking interesting. I'm trying to win this 1 in a million lottery of being a star or something. And I realized at that point that I didn't have a passion for acting. I had a passion for becoming famous. That's
yeah.
the truth. And that is not a passion for anything. That's just that's just you wanting people to like you. That's all it is. And I found that that's what my existence was. So I literally, I hit this wall. I still remember I was like in that little rainforest section of the Bourgeois Pig Cafe in Los Angeles, down on Franklin. And I'm like, I'm getting the fuck out of here. And I jumped on a plane, and I was more or less in a roundabout way, kind of like out of the country. I left the country for about 8 or 9 years. And it was the most freeing thing. I felt like I could do whatever the hell that I wanted now that I didn't want to be an actor. I can learn how to cook. I can learn more about wine, become a sommelier. I could do all these things. I can travel to all these places and explore and go fishing and do all these crazy things. And I literally did all those things.
Where did you go? Where places did you go to?
First I was in Israel for a little while. That's kind of a story in and of itself. But then I was in Southeast Asia for quite a long time. Spent a lot of time in Thailand, and then down in Indonesia. Had an interesting stint in New Zealand for a while, and then found myself in Turkey, and then a good long while in Eastern Europe, which actually ended up being my favorite. And what basically happened was I would go back to America every now and then to try to like make some money, because a little bit of money that you make in America goes a long way in Eastern Europe. It goes even longer in Southeast Asia, and so I would go back to New York. I would bartend, and I would sign with this agent who, her name was Lisa Price, wonderful woman, the Price Group in New York City. And I would just try to like book little things, maybe try to like book a commercial, make some money or something like that. No, not trying to be an actor or anything, just always trying to utilize my resources. And so I would always kind of do that. And as I started coming back and forth from overseas to New York, she kind of got bigger. And she started getting me these like really great auditions. And I went in for this, who's this guest star in some TV show. I went in, and all of a sudden, like with this character in the script, having been away from it from 9 years, for 9 years from actually doing any real acting, and something came alive, and I immediately found out I had access to all these things that I wanted to say, and something clicked, and I fell back in love with it almost instantly, and that was, yeah, that's when I was like, that was around 30 years old, and so I auditioned for something, and I auditioned for something called One on One, which is sort of this acting workshop in New York. And the guy tells me, "Well, Mike, I did a monologue for him, and I'm trying to get back into acting, right?" And he says, "Well, Mike, yeah, I did a monologue." And he's like, "That's good, but honestly, you're like an old car that really needs to get back on the road, needs some tuning." And I'm like, "All right, so you're telling me I really need some acting class here?" So I do, and he gives me two numbers. He writes it down on a little piece of paper, and he says, here's two guys. Call one of them." And I ended up calling one, and his name was Anthony Apeson, and that was the best decision I ever made for my career, and technically also for my life, because not only did it completely turn around everything for me acting wise and give me a roadmap that I rely on and lean on heavily today. I also met the love of my life in that class too, and here we are now. And it was sort of like a fateful kind of thing. And yeah, she moved to LA shortly after that, and for some reason just started. The industry has allowed me to do movies, which is exciting. So
I think it's great though. You kept that relationship with Lisa Price. I mean, that's not exactly an easy thing to do in this business. I mean, of course, you network. That's critical, but to hang, especially when someone's moving up. Someone like her. I'm booking agencies. They're fickle. I mean, you may be known today, but as they get more and more powerful, sometimes you get lost in the wash. But the fact that you made such an impression on her, and she was able to help you when you came in. I mean, that speaks volume, I think, of your character.
yeah, well, I think, yeah, I was just lucky. I think I was lucky that she believed in me, you know, and sometimes you need that in the actors. You always,
Yeah,
no matter what great stuff is going on in your life as an actor, you're always, no matter where you're at in the process, um, you're always faced with this daily existential crisis. It's this it's an unnatural art form where you're forced to look at yourself so intensely every single day. How am I doing? Am I doing the right thing? Am I representing myself correctly? At a certain level, it's like, am I doing the right films or something like that? And so you always need support, and you do. I don't care who you are. If you're an actor, you really appreciate those reminders, because there's a lot of ways to go wrong quickly, in your head, especially out
right.
here in LA. Just a general mind fuck being here. So
When you were on your self-discovery tour, did you keep up with what was going on in the movies and film? I mean, were you keeping track of what everybody else was doing, or did you completely just cut it off? You didn't know what was
I
going on.
wasn't. I mean, I wasn't like I didn't go like full bohemian and live under a rock or anything like that. Like, yeah, generally kind of have a vague knowledge of things going on. But what was great was this was at a time when there was like iPhones, but like there wasn't like data. So I just didn't have like the internet, at my hands or anything like that. So I just left the phone at home, and it's so weird to think now, because obviously I, like everyone else, am so glued to it. But they're like, you're sort of like forced to be in the moment, and I do need to be forced to be in the moment. And a part of that for me was arriving in a country, exploring around, and trying to trying to find a way to survive, and found myself learning new trades extremely quickly, because I had to, because it's hard to get work visas in other countries, and you got to sort of utilize your resources. I was doing something, basically, it's called travel hacking, where you utilize all your resources other than the money in your pocket to travel. Because I just knew I wanted to keep doing it. So for a while there, I was house sitting at a chateau in Normandy, or I was working on a bed and breakfast in Spain, all kinds of crazy stuff, like
Oh,
that.
so you worked your way through. I mean, you sit there and say you work at the cafe for a watch a house for a week in
Well,
order.
that's the thing is, Pat. That's how it started.
Okay.
I didn't intend on keep living that way. I built it up so I could market myself as a consultant. Sounds vague as fuck, doesn't it? And that's by design. I got my sommelier certification in New Zealand, and also got some sort of what you would call like food and beverage expertise kind of training in New York that looked like it. And I would market myself as a food and beverage consultant. So some different resorts would fly me in to come in and do like kind of like these luxury high-end restaurant openings and things like that. And then I would just, I would just kind of bop around and do that for a while. And I kind of did it in a way, marketed myself in a way so I could sort of travel, live, and eat and enjoy for free, more or less,
Sure.
and most of the time get paid. And
Uh,
I did that for a while.
what was your favorite and non and least favorite experience when you're out there for those 9 years?
My favorite and least favorite.
Yeah.
Um,
This is actually, I didn't know any of this, so this is really fascinating to me.
yeah, yeah. It always comes up eventually when people ask about my 20s, because there's a black hole there. um,
I
so
actually think it's sort of like a bright light, to tell you the truth. It's like this is some good stuff here.
yeah, well, everything's still marinating. I'm still trying to understand everything that happened.
Yeah.
The worst was Turkey. I was working in southern Turkey um, during the rise of ISIS, and I was working. I was at this place called the Max Royale. It's 1,000 euros a night to stay at this hotel, and I got brought in to oversee the food and beverage operations for the opening and for their summer season. And I've just never been a part of an experience where shit hit the fan so hard. What was happening is that I didn't know at that time, and it's very strange retrospectively. I don't know if you remember that original rise of ISIS. It was freaking people out, weird signs in places, and obviously some of these attacks, and we're hearing about it on the news. It was sort of a slow build. But I didn't know that where I was in Turkey was actually extremely close to those borders where they were heading to. And Turkey represents sort of the East meets West. It's that bridge between the Middle East and everything else, where you can go into that country as a tourist, or at least disguised as so, and then kind of make your way to the border. And everyone who was joining ISIS at the time was from like these Stan countries, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, all these other kinds of places. These big kind of oil-rich money kids were joining ISIS, and I literally, Pat, like, I must have met almost half of them because they all went through that resort. It was this thing, and the stressed out, the place kind of imploded. I remember I was on the phone with my dad. He was like screaming at me to like get out, like begging me. And I put him through the ringer because he worries about me. And at that point, here I am just bopping around to these different countries, like, hey, yeah, I'm going to Egypt, something like that. And he's really freaking out. So it was really sad. And I was also, I was with my ex-girlfriend of several years, and we had this horrible breakup in the middle of the rise of ISIS in southern Turkey, and everything going to shit. And it's like 112 degrees there every day. The heat makes everything worse. I don't care who you are. And anyway, it just completely blew up. And and then man, I was like running to that plane to get out of there. Not like a CIA movie kind of way, but just more in a personal kind of way, you could say.
Sure.
My best experience overseas was right after that. I found myself almost randomly in Romania, and I was in and I fell in love with that country. It was just incredible. And I would actually, to get around in Romania, you hitchhike. At least if you're a tourist, it's an acceptable thing, especially in the region of Transylvania. There, it's a very normal thing to pick up hitchhikers. And so I was doing that, and every time I got into a car, which, by the way, Transylvania is beautiful. I'm talking about these like mountains with these villages perched on the side, and the people are incredible. Food, but like everyone there is beautiful. The sites are beautiful. The history there is beautiful. It's called Romania because of, you know, Rome. Like the ancient Rome history there is extraordinary too. Obviously, like fucking Dracula, we all love that.
All right, right.
And so every time I got into a car hitchhiking, they would always ask me, "Oh, are you going to go to Vamaveki?" This place, Vamaveki. Everyone kept asking me about it, and I was kind of like, I don't know, maybe. So lo and behold, of course, I end up showing up in this place because everyone recommended it to me, and it's on the Black Sea where Romania meets Bulgaria. And I show up there, and this place is just extraordinary. It's like this beach where I guess on one half of the beach you have everybody living on the beach, and on the other half you have these like these dance bars. It's like something like it's like Fort Lauderdale in the '60s spring break, but more classy, something like that. If that makes any sense. And
Sure.
I met one of my. I was on the beach one day, and I hear this American accent. Hadn't heard an American accent in like I don't know how long. And I met this guy. His name's Colin. He's a special forces dude. And literally to this day, he's one of my best friends. I officiated his wedding. This place, Vamaveki, is so incredible. Everybody stays up and dances all night long, not like a drunken stupor or drug-infested way. It's literally because that's the culture. It's what you do. And every single dance bar, when the sun comes up, because everyone stays up until the sun comes up. Again, it's just what you do. They all play the same classical song in unison as the sun peaks up over the horizon. It's just this beautiful, remarkable place. It's the kind of place that, you know, when you're watching like Leonardo DiCaprio's The Beach and you're just looking for that cool traveling experience, most of the time you never find it. But this place was just magical. And it was after, and it was actually that experience actually pretty much closed out my world travels. Maybe it's because I thought I could never top it, or maybe I found something that I've been looking for. Who knows?
So now you're back in the country. That's an amazing journey. But now you're back. Now you move out to Los Angeles. So did you feel like you were starting all over again?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'm working for free on Backstage, student films, trying to get some kind of footage, some kind of proof of concept that I can fucking do this thing. Right. And so and I tell this to everyone, you know, I'm like, just get that footage, go start working for free, start doing it. For me, it was really important because I'm a slow learner in a way. Like I need like a massive trial and error process for me to get something, if I get something at all. And so I got to just fuck up constantly on these like low budget student films, Chapman University films, or any of these kinds of things. And I'm just I get to go there and play, and there's no repercussions because nobody's watching this stuff except for you. And, you know, I sort of got to finally shake that rust off and start doing it. And then eventually it's just one foot in front of the other. You know, you start focusing on, you know, trying to book features that are low budget for, you know, $100 a day, $125 a day, and you keep going, and then you start setting higher standards for yourself, and then you start choosing which projects you want to do eventually, and then eventually you quit your day job if you can muster it. Even if you quit your day job, no matter how successful you are, it's also scattered that you're never really quite comfortable, and then eventually you just hit your stride where you just get that audition process down, and you just know when you've done something that is bookable.
I really very much like the idea, and because it's both, I guess to me it's a two-edged sword. But I do like it. I mean, I see a lot of times inside, you know, it's like Facebook groups or whatnot. They have all these acting groups and whatnot, and you'll see people out there with student film saying, you know, like, you know, come work on come do a film for me. I can't give you any money, but I'll, you know, you'll get a credit for it. And there's part of me that looks at that and says, you know, if you're gonna become a director, if you really are serious in this thing, you need to do your budgeting. That's the first thing you need to learn is how to budget. And that includes your talent. You have to budget for your talent. You know, to go out there and just expect people to show up and just do things for free, totally free, I think it's really it's unrealistic and a little bit insulting. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
it is.
There's a line with that. There's look, there are going to, no matter where your project is, there is going to be people and talent for it for your budget, even if there's none at all. It just, you just have to, you know, have people like asked me to work for free lately? Not exactly, but there was a point when I had to decide that I couldn't do that anymore, and then there was a point where I decide like, well, I need to get something more livable, and now there's a point where it's like, well, now I need something that is commensurate with me being able to pay my rent or have
Right.
savings or anything like that. And then you just kind of like, you build it along. There's so many movies being made. I mean, so many. Not a lot of good ones, but you know, there are people for every stage. There is a wealth of actors that are willing to work for free, who are probably really talented and who can probably get the job done, and that for where they're at, you know, and that's fine. And you know, I don't have any hard and fast rules about that. I'd be kind of angry if someone asked me to work for free at this point, but you know, or that what they do now is that back end profit share bullshit.
Right.
Most of
Right.
these movies aren't usually making money, so you could, that'll be guys. I've had profit share on quite a few movies just in addition to my day rate. In all these years, have I seen a dime? No, that's okay though. You know, at the end of the day, like I respect anyone who's trying to get a movie made, but you know, you have to take care of people to a certain extent for sure.
Well, I think the fact that you came on in there and you came in there and you started doing things for free. I mean, you came back in. I also admire that too because that's sometimes you got to do that too. Like if your buddy of yours is doing a project and you know that they're doing it, and maybe there's nothing there for you. Maybe he's already done it. And but you sit there and say, hey, do you want me if I can I crew for you? And he'll and then and next thing you know, you're out there for a couple of days and you're crewing and and all during that time maybe you meet somebody else and then meet somebody else. I mean
It's true.
I guess
There's a
there's
lot of,
both sides
yeah,
of the coin.
yeah. There's a lot of ways to find value in doing something that's outside of the paycheck. Of course, for me, for working for free, like it's really invaluable having footage of yourself playing a role. Right, we're calling it a reel or your demo reel. You need that in LA to get anywhere, to get an agent, to even submit by yourself on Actors Access, LA Casting, or any of these things, Casting Frontier. You need you need you need the proof in the pudding of you doing the stuff. So if you don't have that, do whatever it is that you have to do. I talk about this a lot because there's a lot of people, you know, who want advice, or my fellow actors or anything like that. Like, this whole thing is actually a lot more simple than people make it out to be. Simple, not easy, but
Right.
it's all in LA. Everyone's, you know, trying to find a way, you know, a way in. They're all trying to, you know, have a prosperous career. There is just an old fashioned way of doing things where you you do you do the movies to get you the footage, right? You audition for them and you try to cast them, even if they're free. You build that up. You keep getting better at acting. You audition and you book the role, and that's just literally how it works. The better roles you book, the better agent you're going to get, and then the better roles you're going to get down the road. And this is all very difficult and wrought with challenges, all different kinds of double-edged swords and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, work on being a really good actor. Work really, really hard on your audition. Book the role. Work really, really hard on doing a good job in that role, and then do it all over again and keep doing it. And do it on the weekends or when you're not working or something to build that up. But just keep doing it. And you can beat out 95% of the actors in this fucking town just by effort alone. I swear to God, there's no effort. Like, if there's like any directors that's watching this, God willing, hire me. But any director that's watching this would tell you, like, I get these auditions, and it's like they didn't read any of the pointers that I gave, or they just kind of like just did it to get done. Because it's all like, you know, we get scared by these numbers in LA. Like, oh, do you have any idea how many actors are here? Like the person that served you your coffee, the person that served you your stew, or that laundered your shirt, or whatever. Yes, they're all actors, but I promise you, none of them are trying. they're really not trying. Same thing with the filmmaker, the filmmakers too. You come out here and it's really easy to kind of slow down or to stop. And it's okay if you're not booking, but you got to keep trying. People stop trying.
I have a question here for you. Jamie asks, you said that you once realized that you didn't want to act anymore, so you traveled. What brought you back to LA and acting? I mean, what I mean, when you decided when you were overseas and you came back home, I mean, that's a good question, because when you came back in, you had 9 years of, was it that one audition that re-sparked you, or was it something, do you think, that was it something there already inside, and then once you got there and you did that audition, then it sparked? I mean,
Yeah.
I
I don't,
mean,
you
okay.
know, for the sake of storytelling, I always wish that there's this essential turning point event. The way I would describe it is that experience of being away, of diving in with other cultures, these really interesting experiences, really tough experiences too, and all these incredibly lonely experiences in countries where I was thousands of miles away from anybody who lived or died, and I acted out of instinct, and I would potentially was doing damaging things to myself by just beaching myself in random places where I didn't know anyone. All of those experiences are still marinating with me now, and I still have revelations from them to this day, 6 years later. And all I can say is that when I got back to New York after that last time, I felt like I got these feelings when I was walking around interacting and even auditioning. I had this feeling that I was starting to become this person that I always envisioned myself becoming. I think a lot of us have this, at least I would hope so, but we have this best version of ourselves that we seek to be. At least I always did. I've fantasized about the best version of myself since I was a little kid. And I just got like a tiny inch of like feeling like, holy shit, I feel more dense. I feel more grounded. I feel like dense, like I've built something inside of me. And I got really interesting. I got really interested in the way that I was feeling so differently, navigating my normal life back in America, no longer the travel life. I'm back here, and I'm like, I wonder what would happen if the cameras were rolling and I was told to empathize with the character and say and do something, because I have a lot more opinions now.
Lot more
And
life experience. I mean,
maybe,
30 versus 21, and you got 9 years of world travels and seeing different cultures. I mean,
yeah.
you were
Just
totally,
imagine.
yeah, you were enriched.
I imagine that little shit 20-year-old Mike Markoff who was out here in LA before. I mean, he didn't have anything interesting to say. Somebody told him to go do something dramatic, and he's probably gonna copy what he saw Al Pacino do on screen, the night beforehand, and or something. I don't know what the hell he would have done, but what happened is I knew I needed help, and I got into this class. Anthony Abeson, he has cultivated extraordinary actors. I mean, he was coaching Jennifer Aniston right when she booked Friends, and I'm so sorry and the woman who's the one of the leads on what's that Jason Bateman show?
Arrested Development.
No, the Ozark. Julia
Oh,
Gardner, I believe is her name. She
okay.
studied with him too. Who she's a force to be reckoned with. And it was during his training that, in his classes and his coaching, that I just I fell in love with it so hard, so hard. And I don't like acting teachers. I really don't. I hate them. I think 90% of them. Forgive me, it's probably not true, but I kind of feel like 90% of them are just really vain, self-serving, lorded over kind of fucks. And this man was so sweet and had such a respect for the craft. He was co-writing a book with Stella Adler when she passed away. He's been in it for a while, and he's such a wonderful, wonderful man. And studying under him, and I won't go into his techniques, which are, like I said, a roadmap for me. now, but like it studying under him also makes you love life that much more too, and everything. Yeah, and so yeah, I don't know if I had a proper succinct answer to her question, but something like that.
Let's see. We have Colin Bennett here saying, "Vama Virce for life, my brother. I would tell you not to threaten me with a good time, but it's a bit hard telling not knowing."
Wow, there it is. That is so. Colin is the special forces gentleman that I
Oh,
met
right,
in
right.
Becky. That's right.
Okay. Uh, so now we'll go back to LA. That's a great question, Jamie. Thank you for asking it. Um, so let's go back to LA. So now you're on there and you're working for student films and you're working your way up. So what was the first serious role that you got back in LA? I mean, one that you could actually sink some creative teeth into, some creative energy into.
It was a student film. I worked for free. It was called Wrapped. I think it's streaming on Amazon right now. I think they ended up pushing it on because everything can sort of stream on Amazon now. It's great. Um, and it was a feature length student film, and this one was this incredibly illustrious character named Kelly Hardwick. And when I was prepared for it, this I put everything into it. I wasn't getting paid jack shit, no, literally nothing. And it was like shooting in Riverside. It's disgusting. And like I dove into this character so fucking hard. Um I he was the bad guy, but I made him this kind of like sort of like sapiosexual, strange, illustrious past bad guy who was really funny. And they let me improvise on set in these ridiculous scenes of he's this drug maker who's just kind of like losing his mind, who's the protagonists of the film are these like little kids, these 14, 15-year-old kids who are like outsmarting me. And I just thought, I always think back to like these 90s kids movies where like the kids are like teaming up and they're beating the adults, and they're beating up the adults like in like Three Ninjas or something like that. I always thought it was just so stupid that the bad guys never really acknowledge the situation. Like, guys, we're getting beat by a bunch of little fucking kids here. There's something wrong. It's not like an episode of Rugrats here. And like, I sort of leaned into the reality of that situation, which wound up being just very, very funny. Like these little shits are screwing up my drug operation. Very high stakes, a lot of money at stake here. It's always some drug kingpin or something like that. But I kind of played into the hilarity of the situation. But also had some very serious nuances with the character as well for the circumstances. And it was just such a wonderful experience for me. And that was the one. I think that was a big part of the shift. And then right after that, I ended up doing this film in Kentucky where and this would sort of start this film is when everything else stopped, and then it just became my acting career. I think it was a faith-based film based on a true story that had happened just 6 months prior. I think actually I may have even mentioned it in our initial interview, but it was just the most impactful experience I ever had as an actor, playing this real life horrible person who, it was this very horrible story of this man who molested his children. And we shot it in the town where it happened, literally way too fresh from when it actually had happened. And it's a story about the foster system. The film was sort of trying to speak to fixing a very broken foster system in areas where drug epidemics happen, because that's what happens. A drug epidemic in a small town in America, it's usually where the cartels use as a hub. There's just the foster system gets fucked there, and it kind of happens like clockwork. Anyway, so telling that story over there, that was, and then from after that project, that's when I just started. After doing that one, that's when I just started. I guess basically when they started letting me be in more movies, essentially, it was from there on.
Yeah, because you're early. You were working pretty steady there. I mean, once you came back and you started working again, you can definitely see on your page you started getting it more and more. And some of the, I mean, there's one thing I should have asked you about. You were New Zealand. You did now. Were you in New Zealand before? I guess this is afterwards. You did Spartacus. That was in New Zealand though, right?
Yeah, so that was just that. No, that was I hadn't really come back to acting at that point, and that was just I had it in my back pocket. You know, I was with sword fighting was one of my big skills. Ambidextrous sword fighting that I've always had since I was a teenager because I was captain of the saber fencing team, and it was just at a time in my life where imagine I'm living in a random part of the world and I want to go travel somewhere, so I throw a bunch of feelers out there to try to get hired to do something, and so I saw that The Hobbit was shooting in New Zealand. So this is back when Hobbit was in principal photography back in like 2010 or 11. I just broke every rule and dusted off my old headshot and resume and sent it to every single casting director in New Zealand. And someone got back to me 2 hours later and like, hey, we'd like to hire you to do stunts on Spartacus, some ambidextrous sword fighting stunts for Gannicus doubling and also some of the motion capture and stuff. And I got to New Zealand 3 days later, and that was it.
Wow, how cool is that?
Yep.
I mean, even when you're out there in your world travels, you're still finding the work. And yes,
Yeah,
I will tell.
I don't really count that. It was more like I was part of the crew.
That,
You know?
yeah, but though, that does bring up something I got to say though. You are no joke when it comes down to handling blades. You are that good.
That's what I'm gonna say.
Yeah, I've seen some of your work. We talked about this in our first interview, but you are a blade master for sure. I mean, you got some skills.
Yeah, I wonder if there's in order to be called a blade master, if some official certification I have to go through in Japan, something like that.
I don't know. I mean, I guess if you went to I guess to do something, you could probably ask an armorer on a set.
Yes.
You know,
How
is
do
there
I get
certification?
blade master on my business card?
Well, you know what? There are people. That's what they specialize in.
Right.
They specialize in blades, so I'm sure that you could easily be certified to do it. That's not a problem. I mean, that's actually a legitimate question, and I'm sure be something else to add to your tool belt, so to speak, right?
Hey, swords are fun.
Yes. You look really at home with the blade. I would not want to meet you in a dark alley with one. Yeah, you got some skills. And there's acting. You see people doing acting, and there's people that really know what they're doing.
Right.
Someone like a Jet Li or Wu Zhang.
Sure.
Yeah, that's the real deal. Like when I was watching you and some of your footage, I was like, yeah, that's someone not to fuck with. Yeah.
I appreciate you saying that. You know, if you're referring mostly to Death Squad, it's easy to look good when you're like fighting walking cadavers like zombies that aren't fighting back. Then you can just do whatever the hell you want and make it look fancy.
Yeah, that's I would call that. But there's just a way you can always tell when someone's really good at what they do. You can just tell because there's just such a naturalness to it. Like I was telling you today when I was watching that.
Errol Flynn had said, "I'm so shitty at sword fighting. I just look really good doing it." You know.
Uh-oh. Guess who walked in? Guess who walked in?
Big Mike.
Big Mike Thompson. He must see. They started talking about the squad, and look who showed. He heard us from the afterlife.
Good to see you, Mike.
Yeah. Hi, Mike.
Happy belated birthday.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I wanted to send him a box of bear claws for his birthday.
I think he would have.
I thought he'd get a kickoff out of that. So now we're now as you got your first role, now you're taking off. So tell us about tell us about some of your process. I mean, now that you got that acting class, that gentleman really helped you, got you sparked, you back and now you're in LA. Now what would be the first the first film that actually got you rocking and rolling? I mean, you felt confident, you knew what you wanted to do, this is what you wanted to do, because you still must have had a little bit of self-doubt still when you moved out here. I mean, you're still wondering can I do this? Or did you come out here blazing? Did you think that this is absolutely what I want to do?
No, no, Pat. I had fuckloads of self doubt.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Fuckloads. Yeah, yeah. No, yeah. There's what always happens is it's always when it's always like when you achieve, for me at least, it was on a few of these sets when like I achieved like a moment, like, and that's really what you're searching for. Like, you just want like one moment that's like incredible, magical, holistic, whatever the hell you want to call it. um you know it, when you're there's something about being on set and doing a scene, and like I guess just kind of like doing it and it basically working, and then you just kind of wonder. I'm like, oh, I wonder if that was any good. I'm not really sure if that works out. And sometimes, I mean, you call it being in the zone, call it being something where you completely you completely step outside of yourself, and you are like above those roaring waves of all the crappiness of life and all of your insecurities and all the craziness. And for me, it's always joke with my girlfriend. There's sometimes when I'm doing a role on the day, on a take, and I call it, to steal from Dexter, my dark passenger just takes over. And I'm sitting there watching myself from the outside, and my conscious mind is just watching and enjoying whatever the hell that I'm doing. And in those moments, it's like I can do no wrong. There's nothing in my head that's wondering if I'm speaking loud enough, or if I'm hitting my mark, or if I'm or whatever's going on with me saying a line or someone else. There's these moments where you just get into that groove, and that's when I like understood, like, that's that's what you have to try to achieve every single time. And that's how the big boys do it. And then you and I, when we were talking the other day, I was kind of talking about this with you when you and I were talking casually about it, about acting in general, is that, it's such an intangible art form. You really don't know if something's good. You don't know if it's going to work out. You do all the preparation in the world, and on that day, in that moment, like, you don't know you don't know if it's going to work out. And you might just fuck up, and it might just not work, and you have to be fully prepared and ready for that. You do all this preparation, right? You have
Right.
all this stuff in your mind, all these techniques, all these kinds of backstory maybe, and all these kinds of things, and then on the day, none of it could work. You do a take, and that shit's just flat. Or even before you do the take, the director's like, okay, I have an idea, do it this way. Meanwhile, you've just spent days, weeks, months, however long, like, building this whole emotional life and backstory for this character and the meaning of this scene. You have to throw that shit away right there, and then start
Oh.
over right there in the moment. And it's scary, but it's also, it makes your job very exciting in a way. And
Now, now this is actually, if I don't mind me asking this, but because I think you mentioned this too in our talk, but talk to us because I think this can relate to this. I think if not, let me know. But this is a critical element for your toolbox. You mentioned an actor's tool belt.
right,
Now, this is a critical time where that tool belt becomes that priceless, basically, right? You do all that prep work, you come in there, and you don't think it's going to happen, and now you're up in the middle of the air. You're looking around like, now? What do I do? But you got that tool belt with you.
right.
You got those tools that you got in there. So how do you bring that into play when a scene or a role suddenly goes twisted?
Well, I can tell you, when you're right there in that moment and something's not going right, there's no time to get technical with your tool belt and your shit. It becomes, what I do is I listen to the director, I listen to the other actors, and you try to get onto the same wavelength of whatever their vision is, or you try to objectively see what didn't work about that, and you find a way to thrust yourself into the emotional life of that scene, and you serve the story. You're literally, it's not about you. It's not about your performance or what awards you might win. You are literally serving the story. This is a movie. You are a storyteller, a part of this movie. So I don't try to overblow my position or my emotional process. I'm here to tell this part of the story, and I'm going to justify that. So when I throw out, you throw everything out, you try to get technical in the moment. You're gonna look like a guy who's in his head or something like that. Or, oh, here I'm gonna play an emotion or play one of these things. And if you prepared correctly, you will. This is my acting teacher's language. You will have grown a tree that bears low-hanging fruit for you to grab when you need it. There's a lot to unpack from that one. But if you look at your preparation as growing that tree, giving you these options, it's like what I was telling you before about, well, I guess no one else knows, but like I plant landmines in the script for me, things that I know will impact me. This could be part script where I've created memories or things like that. Not to get too technical about anything, but the preparation exists in a certain way, just so you do have things to draw from, in the moment on the day. But if all else fails, if everything is going to shit and crap or whatever, I sit back, I listen to what the director's how this director's trying to tell the story in the scene. For example, like there was one scene, the gentleman who chimed in earlier, Tremaine, on the set of his movie Sim, we were doing a scene. It was not working. It wasn't. It was a very important scene too, and there was some issues with some of the back and forth of the scene. It was a crucial moment, and we tried grinding it out and it wasn't working. And I just need to sit back and listen to how my director, who is also the writer, how he saw that scene. And once I actually shut up my stupid little vain actor mind, once I shut that up and I just listened to the storyteller, the premier storyteller, the composer of this whole thing, the reason we're all there, I understood something he had said that I had never even considered. And it was like this aha moment, like, oh. And he described how maybe he was describing how the edit was going to go, or what he was envisioning, and it made sense because I just shut up and listened and took direction. And sometimes an actor needs to realize it's not all about them. You shut up, listen, and take direction when you need to, and that's easier said than done. Taking direction sometimes is hard. It's hard to shut up an actor's head too. We've got delusions of grandeur and all these other kind of things. It's quoting Han Solo there, if anyone noticed.
That is refreshingly honest. I mean, to sit there and say, hey, what's that saying? Never miss a chance to stay silent. Sometimes, or your own, get out of your own way.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that because sometimes there is ego involved in it, and sometimes an actor will say, this is my character, this is what I'm going to do with my character, this and that. But you're right in a sense that it's not so much your character. Yes, you put in your input into it. You put a lot of energy into it, but ultimately it really is the directors. It's the storytellers.
Sure.
And I always
try to, off the bat, when we do a scene, I try to bring something. I try to fill it with life in some kind of way, whether that happens instinctually or maybe something that I planned. And I don't expect everything that I do to work out. In fact, most of it doesn't.
But it's fun trying, though, isn't it?
What's that?
But it's fun trying.
Oh, hell yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's what I love doing. I love trying out a scene and giving it, giving it different beats, giving it different life and everything. And that's, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun to fuck up and try again. And it makes it even better when you do finally arrive. It's such a learning experience, and you kind of realize like you do. This goes for every actor and their process or every film set. You do whatever the hell it is you have to do to create that magic on that day, because what you're asking for from an actor or from making a movie is you're hoping for magic to happen, because it literally is like magic when it goes right. There's whether it's the connection between the actors or something incredible with the lighting and the camera movement and the nonverbal communication that's happening from the technical perspective, and everybody and everything else, or your props, you are literally creating magic. You know without really knowing when you watch it in movies. It's what everyone is seeking to do but can't always do. Think about it, man. Like, you have these studios that spend $200 million on a movie, have all of the marketing research funds and staff in the world, and the movie still loses money, right? How can you do that? How can they do that with their financial plan and their structure and their studio and hiring the best director and the best DP and the best sound guy and the best actors and all these things, and the movie fucking sucks? Doesn't
Yeah.
make money? You are never safe making a film. Everybody, that is a highly, highly dynamic atmosphere. To make a good film, to tell a good story, to do the right thing takes a lot. And
Yeah, I mean,
that's it.
you're right. And there's been so many movies that have come out that get all the hype, get everybody all hyped up, all the money spent. I mean, they publicize the budget, they publicize the cast, but there's movies that with all that going for them still crash and burn. The audience is sitting there going like, "This is not for me. I didn't really particularly like it,"
Sure.
and so they don't watch it at all, or not enough of them come out. We spent $200 million, but only $100 million worth of business came in. Doesn't necessarily mean your movie's bad. It just means that you probably overspent making it.
Yeah, there's a lot of reasons. A lot of reasons why movies don't make money, and that's just one of them for sure.
Hi, John. How are you, sir? Mr. Bones. Mr. Bones is in the house. Thank you again. Wow. So, yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm just listening to your, I guess what we call it what the chemistry. When you watch a movie and you see that chemistry between two actors, and I think you see that much more on a low budget movie than a big feature. Because I don't know why, but to me, when someone does a big feature, I mean, I don't know, maybe because it's just the money, maybe because it's just the flash, maybe because the cast is put together based on a Q rating, like, well, this is the seventh best popular movie with people between 18 and 30, and this is the 13th most, they cobble these casts together based on those type of ratings. But when you do low budget movies, it's basically, hopefully get with the best you can, go, have a casting director with a sharp eye. And there are a lot of good casting directors out there, directors too, with a sharp eye that matches talent. And you get a lot of great performances from a lot of lower budget films.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, casting is of paramount importance for sure. Yeah.
You start with I mean, one thing you probably, when you left the States, you were doing face-to-face auditions, right? And when you came back, was that the beginning of I mean, because the audition process is really rugged. When you do your auditions, do you like doing your auditions face to face, or what do you feel about the self-taping process? And how does it help or inhibit you as an actor?
Yeah, I love the self-taping process. I mean, originally, I think everybody hated it because we didn't have the tools. We had to put up bookshelves and move a lamp over, and like it was like super inconvenient. And then you need to find someone to read with you for the audition, and it was all this kind of. Once you kind of get all that infrastructure all put together, you have an opportunity to perfect an audition tape. Why wouldn't you take advantage of that? Do as many takes as possible. Do not send it until you have something that's incredible. For me, and God bless my girlfriend, sometimes I make her tape with me for many, many takes, and it's a stressful experience sometimes, but I don't stop until I have something, or at least I try not to stop until I have something where I feel like I've made an impact, where I've either sent something where I can say that's bookable, and that's something that you kind of learn over time when you've kind of done something. You say, okay, I've brought something interesting to the table here. If nothing else, I would be an interesting choice maybe for this role, and maybe that's you've taken a risk to make a little splash in a tape or something like that. Or sometimes you do a tape and you get a character that comes your way and you just shake hands with them so fucking easily. You're just like, this guy, I get it. And sometimes it takes no effort at all, and then sometimes you're like punishing yourself, like I'm not getting this, I'm not feeling alive in this scene or whatever. But whatever it is, I can go through all of that crap on my end without a casting director seeing me stress out about it. Granted, like there's a case to be made that like knocking down the door with your charisma and talking to that casting director, and they're like, "How are you today?" I'm like, "I'm fucking great. Let's do this thing," or something like that, you know. And then you just knock their socks off. And that's always fun when that happens. It usually doesn't. Usually, you walk in there, you're very nervous, and you walk out being like, "I should have fucking said this or that," and I don't miss that. It'll be great when that fully comes back. If it sort of fully comes back, I think now we know that it's more costly and timely for everyone just to start off digitally, and maybe when they get closer to decision or screen tests or third and fourth callbacks or producer callbacks, maybe those will be in person, which I believe they are already starting to be. So, but for now, I'm okay with the digital existence of auditioning.
Um, who's been your favorite character to play, Mike? I mean, you've played so many variety. You've had so many different roles. I mean, what character is really, that you would want to hang out with and have a cup of coffee with?
Oh, I don't know if I want to hang out with any of them, but I don't. I don't. They're not. Maybe if I played more savory characters. I mean, obviously, Brooks and Death Squad. I didn't waste any time. That's just me, for the record. I'm sure you can tell.
Yeah.
I didn't see any reason to create a character outside of myself. I just thrust myself into some different circumstances. I made them change the character for me with some certain kind of adjustments and everything, because it seemed like the interesting thing to do. Mostly because I'm playing a mercenary, and it's just like, well, what does this dude with long hair who's trying to, who's a mercenary? And I'm like, well, if he's really good with a machete, then he's got something interesting going on. Anyway, there's that. But I would say my favorite character, it would probably be Hawes.
Can we talk about Hawes?
Yeah, we can talk about Hawes. It's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the movie we're talking about hasn't been released yet. It's called The Legend of Hawes, and Mike plays Mason. All right, so I already talked about you because I didn't know if we were able to talk about Hawes or not. I already mentioned how skilled you were with the blade, but holy shit, dude, what's up with the fucking fast draw? I mean, I'm sitting there watching that, and I watch a lot of westerns, and including Richard Boone's Have Gun Will Travel, and let me tell you, your fast draw is right up there. It's just like I'm sitting there watching the first time you did it, and I'm going like, why am I not surprised at that? Why, because sometimes especially with westerns, they always seem sort of come across as slow and a little bit awkward. I mean, maybe Denzel looked all right in the Magnificent Seven, but let me tell you, he had like a lot of looks to make that look. You were a natural, a draw. I was amazed by that, to tell you the truth. I'm not surprised, but I was amazed.
I really appreciate that.
So let's talk about Hawes. I mean, let's talk about that in the beginning. How did you hear about the project, and what did you have to do to land him? Because he is a very good character.
I was in consideration for a role in one of Rene Perez's previous films. This was some years back. The role ended up going to Michael Paré for it was called the Vampire and the Vigilante. And then Rene called me up when he had a Western, and it just asked if I would do a read of a scene, and that was one of those self tapes where I literally threw it up on the teleprompter, did the scene to see how it felt. That first take felt amazing. This character, like, I just swam with him so quick and so easily, and so I just sent that tape in, and he was like, "Okay, let's do it." It was easy. That one was easy for that, and that, like I said, sometimes a character comes your way that you just get.
Robert Enriquez says Luther in the Cove.
What's that?
Robert Enriquez says Luther in the Cove.
Oh yeah. Oh, I have to give that. I would say it's a tie.
Luther's fun
on two levels, because that character, what was so cool about that one was from that original audition, when I got the sides and the circumstances and everything, I just created this weird guy out of nowhere. Like this was like, I don't know what the hell I was channeling or something like that, but like I just created this character based off of this menacing kind of character that was in the script as this antagonist, who's sort of this ruthless, unsavory kind of dude. And that audition was so much. It was just so much fun. It was like I just like I loved sitting in the moments of this character. Even some of the reviews, they say kind of like, oh, he just loves like chewing on these scenes, and he's just, I think Robert, one of them said that just chewing on the scenes like chocolate or something like that. And it's so funny, it's so true, because I love being in the moment with that character, and that was so much fun. Yeah, that was written and directed by Robert Enriquez, who's here. There he is.
Oh yeah, okay.
And
Yeah, Luther was a lot of fun. I was laughing. And I also noticed. I just want to say this too. I noticed something right off the bat, and I was really impressed with this. And I know this was done a while ago. And also, hats off to Robert for this. I got to give Robert some major props for this. But you there's a lot of weapons handling in that scenes that I saw you with, and you guys are carrying guns and whatnot. What I really was impressed with was the fact that you kept your finger far fucking away from the trigger. You sat there, your finger is stuck right there in the side. It never moved. I mean, it was almost like, wow, that's how gun safety is, and just how you handled it. It not only as a, maybe that's how someone handles it, in real life, but even as acting wise, you kept your finger away from the trigger guard. I don't know why, but that made the scene a little bit more, I don't know, impactful for me when I was watching it, because it's like, he's careful about not only himself but his fellow actors. It's a brutal scene. You basically are gonna whack somebody and whatnot. And I think the tendency would be to put your finger on the trigger, but you didn't. You kept it off of it. And I don't know why, but that really was impactful for me. Was that I mean, how hard is that? How hard is that when you handle a weapon, and your character is despicable? I mean, for sure, but he's fun. He's sort of like a Hans Gruber type, in a sense.
Sure.
For sure. I mean, he's a lot of fun. That
was the thing. Is Robert kind of, he was very accommodating in letting me play with him, in that character, and even though his daughter was on set, and he didn't write swearing in there like the way that I put in there too, or it wasn't really even swearing. It's more so just the content that I was referring to. So he was very accommodating, but yeah, he was. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, in terms of the gun thing, I learned the gun safety protocols and try to stick with it. Obviously, it's a big topic of discussion these days, of course. And so I always try to take that really seriously. But also, it was, on Death Squad, they also kind of, just taught us, some basic things. Actually, Mike Ferguson and some of these other guys, they actually all started out with a lot more experience with guns than I did. So I was constantly leaning on them, being like, am I holding this right? I'd be like, Ferguson, I don't want to look like a fucking idiot here. Let me just show me what I'm supposed to do. And that's literally, and I have no vanity when it comes to, like, if I don't know something. I'm much more concerned about the final product looking like stupid because I didn't do something right, or because I didn't ask. Because there's a lot of people that, you would hope, at least on major productions, people are watching everything. On these little things, like, you're left to your own devices. So if you fuck something up, they're not going to catch it, and it's going to end up in the edit because they got what they got. It's going to make it there. So I try to, and I've humbled myself quite a few times with some very stupid questions. In fact, I ask stupid questions a lot, but I've learned that I'd rather be judged for asking a stupid question than do something wrong, or God forbid hurt someone.
Yeah, there's no such thing as a bad question. Only a question that's not asked.
Right.
So back to Luther. So obviously, you definitely you're just having a ball there. I mean, it's you got you and your crew, and you're talking to the crew. That just the way you were just it was hard to. It was in a way. It was sort of you're sort of laughing at the same time, even though it's supposed to be a serious moment. But here you are, you're threatening this guy, and you're telling him about all his options, and you're doing it in such a way like it should be. I'm sitting here going like, okay, this guy is like scary as hell, but he's also making me laugh.
Yeah,
Because
well, well, the funny thing is that scene, like on the boat. There, I think it was just a couple lines. It was it was a bit of an exposition-y, sort of thing. That whole thing was shot during like lockdown. Robert was taking advantage of the fact that got empty streets, and hey, it's time to do a slightly, soft, post-apocalyptic zombie thing. But yeah, no. So we just that scene was improvised for the most part, while hitting some points, and also just because I'm sitting there surrounded by my henchmen. One of them's the stunt double for Dolph Lundgren, and the other one's this strange British guy, and then we got Antoine, who's freaking awesome, who's just a great actor too, and menacing and huge, and I'm just like surrounded by this cast of characters. I had to like acknowledge in the scene. I just had to acknowledge that I'm just surrounded by the village people. I think is what I said. I don't know if that made
yeah.
I
That
had
made me
so
laugh.
much. I gotta say that was only that was a quick shoot because they got a lot done pretty quickly. But then that was so much fun.
How
And
many times did you have to do that? How many times did you have to take on that? Because I'm sure when you said that line, I'm sure they all lost it.
yeah, no, I think they were pretty good about it. People are generally pretty good about not laughing, but yeah, no, I love that experience so much, and I really love Robert a lot too. And so now Robert's he's a fantastic filmmaker, but he's a veteran manager. So he actually we're deciding now to we work together, which is great. And so it was really cool to take on a manager who it's kind of cool that he just like knows what I can do, because I'm always I guess whenever you're searching for an agent or a manager or any aspect of representation, you're like, I want you to like get me. I want you to get me so you can like submit me for the right things, or just get to know like the stuff that I can do so you can point me in the right direction. So that was the way that worked out is awesome. He's got a great roster, and yeah, he makes good movies as well. Nice bonus.
Good, good. Now on the flip side of Luther, then you had Hawes. Now Hawes is a lot more serious. He is brokenhearted, and he's dangerous. He's way more dangerous than Luther. And I thought Luther's crazy, but dangerous. Hawes is like he would eat his lunch. So talk to us a little bit about a Hawes,
Yeah.
because he's an interesting character.
So yeah, so technically we can talk about this because the film it hasn't had its official release. I believe it's being released by somebody in January, maybe Sony or something like that. But right now it's the producers have done a limited release on it, so it can be spoken about. Yeah, it's a horror western with me and a couple other fine actors, and this character, the stories. When I immediately read it, it reminded me of the outlaw Josie Wales, this character who loses his family, and kind of goes dark, and sort of becomes a force to be reckoned with after. But this one in particular, I love so much. So this character, he's lost his wife and he's lost his child to this very strange group of marauders, set in the 1800s, in a western, in a vaguely western mountainous town, and he, following that experience, he becomes an alcoholic who's literally just numbing himself until he perishes. He just wishes he could perish now. Who's approached by a woman. The same thing happens to her family, and she's trying to get him to join her in seeking revenge against these people, and he can't. It's one of those reluctant hero kind of stories, and I don't get to play heroes almost ever, and I don't think I normally ever will. But this character, because I was so interested in someone who's sort of so stuck and stewing in the darkness of their own despair, which, I mean, it's justified, right? You lose your You lose everything in your life in an instant, and your immediate thought is, what is this is my heart, this is my life, this is my everything. Why would I want to go on living? First off, I don't deserve it. Second, the pain is way too hard. And so this story was so meaningful to me to play this character. And even though, I mean, the backdrop of this film, albeit from being sort of a darker kind of, slowly stewing Western, was also very much a horror film too, because Rene Perez and his fan base, they do like his horror tropes, which, aren't exactly my, like, it's not really where my interest sort of is. But yeah, the movie's interesting in that way, as sort of a mashup of those two genres, which is becoming more and more popular, I'm noticing.
Could I throw a comparison out a little bit, or should we sort of keep everything fuzzy?
Oh, go for it. Who cares?
Yeah, because when I was watching it today, the one thing I noticed right off the bat, it reminded me a lot of Bone Tomahawk, and which is not necessarily, which is a good thing, because Bone Tomahawk is a very good movie. It's a, it has the same sort of ideas behind it, but I liked it. I definitely liked your performance in that movie. You elevated that movie for sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, that your Hawes is everything in that movie, and I thought how you portrayed the grief, because back then that's how a lot of people did treatments for loss. So they drank themselves to death. But I liked the character. I liked how you brought it to life. I really do give you credit, 100% credit for developing it. There wasn't, and I have to say that you showed us the exact same emotions that how it is. Like getting up every day and wanting to go on and everything else. I can tell you from experience, what you put on the screen is exactly how it is.
Oh,
So it was very impactful. Like I said, what I really was impressed with again is that the fact that you elevated it, you made the movie so much more stronger with your portrayal of Hawes. It was, you couldn't take your eyes off you when you're on screen. You couldn't, and that's really dynamic. That's a really dynamic, and you don't really see that a lot. Not, you don't. I mean, I've watched hundreds of movies, and it's very rare that I've just like zeroed in on that one person and just watched them go through, the whole role, because they're sometimes when that happens, you have to rewatch the movie to catch everybody else in, because you weren't really watching them the first time through. And
so nice of you to say.
no, I'm just being honest. I mean,
Yeah,
everybody here in our chat that's movies fans, and believe me, there's a lot of them in here. I think they can relate to what I just said. So yeah, I was really impressed with it. I definitely looking forward to it when it gets released.
Yeah, I'm interested. It's so funny, while shooting it, I wasn't, other than like, going head to head with the main bad guy at certain points, I wasn't actually exposed to any of the horror aspects of the shooting of that film. So here I am, kind of just sort of moseying my way through this Western drama. And so I was a little shocked at some of the intense horror elements that were in there. I didn't see it coming.
Oh, did they tell you what it was going to be about when you did you know that it was going to be a horror Western, or did you just think it was going to be a street?
Yeah, I thought it was going to be a Western with some horror elements to it and things like that. And I guess I wasn't expecting the gore.
Oh right, yeah, there's a lot of gore there.
Yeah, which is fine. Hey, it's a look. I'm there to do my aspect of the job, and I loved doing it. The coolest part is the folks who financed the film. They have a farm, it's a Hawes Ranch, and I was actually staying on the farm during the shoot, which was just so cool, because I'm sort of playing this is sort of the origin story of this farm and the patriarch of the family from back in the 1800s, I believe. Of course, embellished and made into an actual tale. But it was cool just kind of living and being on the farm during that shoot. It was honestly a wonderful experience, and working with Emily, my scene partner, and with everybody on set, and of course working with Richard Tyson, which is fantastic. He's a great guy, and so many
Yeah.
stories. He's the kind of guy who entered Hollywood in the '80s when you could like sneak on to like movie studio sets and like force your way into meetings with people and be like, "Hey, look at me, I'm an actor." And so he had all those great stories. It was great being up in Redding, California, up in Shasta County, you know, Mount Shasta, Lake Shasta, and all that surrounding area. It's so beautiful up there. Such a wonderful backdrop for a
Really
Western.
is.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, I thought the location shooting was beautiful.
Sure.
My grandparents had actually their ranch is not that far away from Reading, in a place called Grass Valley, and yeah, I had a ranch there. So I mean, some of the locations you were talking about, Reading, and I've been to Lake Shasta, Mount Shasta, so it was really fun to see those on the film.
Yeah.
Um, and you're right, Richard Tyson. I mean, that guy's been around for a while. You know, I remember him. He did one movie, one series where he was a cop, which I forgot, and then of course, to me, the role I remember him mostly for is Kindergarten Cop.
Sure.
You know, he played the bad guy there, and he was actually very, very good in that.
Oh, yeah.
Um, so he had some able support. I mean, it was a good project. I mean, and a western too. And this is not the first western, because you also shot a movie which I'm really looking forward to, and it better come out next year, damn it. And that's Homestead.
Right.
Yeah, talk to
So
us.
excited for that.
Yeah, I'm very excited for that, because holy shit! Not only did you get to work with Mikey again, but you also got to work with the Mike was talking about the young girl who played the little girl.
Yeah, Betsy Slade.
Yeah,
She's incredible.
yeah, he was
Yeah, and I
super
mean that
high
was
on
just it
her.
was that this movie is filled with so much wonderful talent. I mean,
And
Jamie Bernadette is incredible in it. Brian Krause is incredible in it.
I
Diamond
like,
Dallas Page like shows up and kicks ass in it. I mean, everybody. Scott Spurlock. I mean, everybody in that film is such a powerhouse, and it's such a fantastic story. And Erlen Hollingsworth, the director, he's a great guy too. And yeah, just we'll see.
I,
We'll see. You know, you
I'm,
wait,
try- I'm,
waiting
try-
game.
I'm trying to get Jamie on here right now. I'm saying, Jamie, can you please come on? Because I think she's so incredible.
She is amazing. Yeah, yeah.
She is
It's really
amazing.
great. I have a project coming up, another project coming up with her that I'm super excited about. I can't talk about that one yet, but that one, this will be. I mean, the role is so extraordinary for Jamie. It's such an incredible story, and I'm based off of a true story, and I am so excited for this one as well. And this is the big highlight coming up.
Well, you know what? That's a perfect way for us. You know, I have a lot more, but you know what they say in showbiz, leave them wanting more. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to the chat. I'm sure they've been sitting here waiting to ask you some questions.
Very
So if
good.
you have some questions for our guest, Mike Markoff, please start dropping them down into the comment section, and I will start feeding them to Mike, and he'll answer some questions for us. Man, yeah, this has been amazing. So what is the next thing? Is the Legend of Oz? Is that the next thing you have coming out? That it's, I mean, right now coming out, or do you have anything else coming out before then?
Yeah, there's quite a few. Just trying to wonder what I can refer.
You got a couple of short films completed.
No,
Just
yeah, you know, IMDb doesn't give you the full exact picture.
yeah.
Some of that stuff that's been completed has been out for like 3 years. But
Oh,
so I have what I'm very excited about. There's a film that's going to be coming out from George A. Johnson. He's a fantastic writer, director, Emmy winner. This movie called Pulled from Darkness that we shot in Indiana earlier this year. And
yeah.
that'll be, I believe that'll be coming out in 2022. They just announced the picture lock and post production. Also a true story, incredible. Very
Yeah,
excited for that. And then yeah, there was another film that me and Mike did with Tito Ortiz and Chris Cyborg. That'll be coming out in 2022 as well. I don't know. That one's not listed on IMDb, so I'm not going to name the title yet. But that one's going to be a lot of fun too. It's going to be great. From everything that I saw from the shoot, it was really, really fantastic. Again, Tremaine's film Simp is going to be one hell of a ride. He did his last movie was this awesome movie called Rideshare that did pretty well. He's a good writer, director, and Yeah. And,
Let me ask you a question. What do you find more rewarding, working with a name cast or working with a cast of relative unknowns?
I mean, it doesn't like what ends up happening is it kind of, at least for the movies that I do, they're kind of a little bit of a mix up. You know,
Hmm.
it's usually a blend of both, and it gives you fantastic perspective that like, you know, at the end of the day, there's people that do good work and who are great supporting actors to work with and be around, and there's people that are not, and that's I think that's how I would separate them.
Because some people think that they're lead acting material, and they
No,
can't.
not necessarily. There's, you know, there's between whether it's people who are established or people who are not established, from both from those two groups, what matters the most is like who's pleasant to be around when you're on set. At the end of the day, that's literally is a working environment, and and there are people who are pleasant to work with and be around and who are very giving in scenes, and there are people who are not, and there are people from both of those groups that are in either one of those groups, and that's usually the only difference maker. I mean, I don't know if I've worked with any like heroes yet, so maybe I'll answer that question after after I get cast in something with like Viggo Mortensen, then I'll just be like, it's the best working with stars. It's the best thing ever. But
Yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at some of the, I'm looking from Pull from Darkness, and I'm just seeing there's a lot of like a young talent in here, and I'm just thinking, is it easier to work with young talent coming the way up? They're maybe they have under five roles, or is it easier to work with someone a veteran like Richard Tyson, or who's been around, or Jamie Bernadette who's been around for a while, Brian Krause. Is it easier with Sharon, doing scenes with them? I mean, got to be it's got to be a big difference.
yeah, I guess you could say that. What's great, with a guy like Richard, for example, what comes from that is so fantastic. Is that he's learned how to be a giving actor. So like he completely, in that showdown scene, he lets me demoralize him. Like he lets me make him his pitch because that's what the character or the story called for. He's like, he even like probably says like, Mike, I'm gonna make you look really good here, or something like that. And I appreciate that about him. And yeah, of course, and all veterans kind of understand that, like like especially like Jamie, she's you learn how everyone works, and then you adapt to that. Like Jamie needs her space to she carries everything. She carries all the circumstances of the characters that she plays, so she bears that burden the whole time that she's on set.
Yeah.
Um, and so you'd be very respectful of that. But what you get from Jamie, even when it's not her coverage, she's giving you like 1,000%. And that's the big thing, is when it's not your coverage, when the camera's not on you. Sometimes what happens with actors, this happens with amateur actors a lot, is they'll just kind of phone it in, but they don't give you anything to work off of. So the hope would be is that you do the scene the same way every single time, you give it that same energy, even when the camera's not on you for your coverage. That would be my answer to your question. That is a bit of a divide, and that's something you just kind of learn. You kind of learn to give everything every time.
We got some questions here from Casey, and actually, Robert and Casey asked both the same question. What is your dream role, and who is your dream director to work with?
Yeah, it's just very easy. I literally, Pat, if nothing else, I just want to be in some iteration of Lord of the Rings. That's all I want in life. I don't care who the director is, preferably Pete Jackson. I just want to look. There's the little kid in me that wants to take the fucking sword and slay the fucking dragon.
Yeah,
I'm never gonna lose that. I want it. I want
yeah.
it. I think I could do it. I keep my hair long for that reason and opportunity only, and I won't cut it fully until that fucking happens.
Well, now, would you settle for doing something like Game of Thrones or Wheel of Time?
Yes, I would settle for Game of Thrones.
And I wish
I'll
the hell.
settle,
You know
I'll
what?
settle for Game of Thrones. Yeah, no, Game of Thrones is in the same. Yeah, in that same kind of. That's
Can,
kind of vibe.
can you please go to Wheel of Time and rescue it? Because that is the Oh my gosh, I tried reading that series. I'm surprised they made a miniseries out of it. I'm totally shocked because I've read the books and let me tell you, I just oh Lord. Um, Game of Thrones would be a lot, I think, more your speed. I'd love to see you there. More swordplay. Um, yeah. Any more questions? Gosh, man, we didn't even talk about half the stuff I wanted to talk about. But you know what? I'm gonna save it. I'm gonna save it. And when the Homestead comes out, or we're coming back. We're coming back. I already can tell you that. Um,
Good.
and Robert, you'll probably be coming up here soon too, which I'm going to be talking to him about that because I want to talk to him. Uh, yeah, what's okay? How about this then? I mean, since you're open and honest, and this will be my last question for the night, and what a way to end it. But what has been your worst role that you played? The one role that you just did not like? The character, the characters, the scenario, the just overall. What's the one character that if you met him face to face, you kick his ass?
Huh.
Please don't say Luther, because I love Luther.
No, no, no.
Or Brooks. Can't do it with Brooks either.
It would honestly, and this is all sort of in retrospect. It would be the first role I ever did. It would. It was this movie called that Rockville Slayer movie. Not that there's anything particularly wrong with that little shit, but he just. It was so important at that time during my first, movie. But I go back and I watch that, and I'm sure anyone who goes back and watches the first thing they ever did, and they're just like, oh wow, well that's. I was like 15 years old. I mean, I was 15 years old, barely through puberty, and I had a scene with a girl who gets naked, and the actress was like 10 years older than me, and I watched that and I'm just like, I look like this little man child. I don't even look like the typical jock who dies in the beginning of a slasher film, because that's literally what it was. And I was just like, I love the experience. Gosh, it was such a great experience. But yeah, no, that was just like, I'm embarrassed to show it to people.
No, but you know what? See, you walked into the right room for that movie because everybody here in this chat, we're all slasher fans. We're all horror fans. We are all. So you walked into the right place for that. People, I really like to see it because I love the cast. The cast is absolutely insane. I mean, Linnea was the girl you saw, Linnea Quigley.
No.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say you probably like most of the older fanboys. You lived their fantasy if you saw that.
Right. Like dancing on the grave scene that she did in Return of the Living Dead.
Right.
Yeah, she was really cool though, for sure.
She is. I want to thank our guest Mike Markoff for coming out and hanging out with us, and thank you very much to the chat for hanging out with us too. This has just been an amazing interview. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart. Mike will come back sometime next year. Hopefully, I'm going to do a roundtable. I'm trying to do that. I'm trying to set that up. I'm going to set that up so we'll do a roundtable. Because I called you guys the trilogy. You, Josh Hahn, and Mike Ferguson. Let me call you guys the trilogy.
Cool.
Yeah. I just can't imagine what kind of shenanigans we could get into with the three of you guys sitting around and swapping some stories. Tomorrow night, we have actress model Cami Storm will be here at 8 o'clock. We hope that you'll come back to join us for that. Cami is a very delightful young lady who is hardworking, and she is slightly behind the camera to do her first directorial, a movie called Dark Winter. See, I got it right. See, I put Dark Water, and she goes, it's really supposed to be Dark Winter if you don't mind. I'm like, no, not at all. So we'll be talking to Cami tomorrow at 8 o'clock. And Mike, thanks so much again. Stay right where you're at, sir. And we'll talk in 1 second. To the rest of you guys, thank you again. And peace.